everybody. Welcome to the PVD Horror Podcast. I am Dave. I'm here with my co-host, Brandon, and we have a special guest today. Joining us is director Franklin Ritch, who has created the film The Artifice Girl, and this is his feature film debut. This is an XYZ film production, and it's going to release in theaters, on digital, and on demand on April 27th. Franklin, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
We appreciate it. Now, Franklin, would you consider yourself a horror fan? If so, can you share some of your favorite films?
Oh, thank you. Oh man, yeah, that's a great that's a great way to kick things off.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would consider myself a horror fan. I'm probably not as I'm not aficionado like some people would that I know are like really into it. But I'm definitely I'm a big fan of the classics. Rosemary's Baby is like one of my all-time favorites. So obviously all the Hitchcock stuff, but recently big fan of Funny Games. Nice. That may not, some people may not consider that to be horror, but I think it's one of the scariest movies ever.
So are you talking about the original or the American version?
I would actually place the American one above the original. Nice. And I know that might be controversial, but I mean, Mikael redid the whole film himself. It was his idea. Mm-hmm. And I think Tim Roth and Naomi Watts are just absolutely incredible as well. Bud Cort, and Michael Pitt. But yeah, I'm trying to think other great ones. Obviously, everything Ari Aster's been doing has been wonderful. Big fan of Jordan Peele. Obviously, Nope was terrific, as was us. And Scott Derrickson has been kicking butt with the Black Phone. I really love the Black Phone too. I thought that was just fantastic setups and payoffs and some stellar performances from those kids. So it's been a good year to be a horror fan. I still have to watch Smile. I haven't watched Smile yet, but I'm really I loved the short. And I've been wanting to watch it with my girlfriend though, because she loves spooky movies. And I've been promising that I'd watch it with her, but big fan of all of it.
Nice choices right there.
Yeah, no, it's funny because we've every conversation recently, I feel like we always kind of been throwing in Smile because we really enjoyed it and it kind of surprised us, I think.
Yeah,
sure.
Funny Games, that was a great pick. That is a pretty creepy, tense movie, and I like that a lot. It has that home invasion type of flavor to it. So anything home invasion always gives me that's my big fear in life. So it's pretty terrifying. So your film, The Artifice Girl, has a horror icon in it. It has Lance Henriksen of Pumpkinhead and Aliens. I was curious just if you could kind of describe how he was able to get involved in the project.
Oh my God. I mean, everything that you've heard about him is true, but he was always at the top of our list for obvious reasons. Like you said, his sort of the meta connection to Bishop and all of that just seemed like a no-brainer to us. And he's also such just a phenomenal powerhouse of an actor. But we didn't think it was possible, but we were lucky enough to get the script actually in front of him. And, he could have just shown up on set and read the lines and gone home, collected his check, but no, he cared so much about the project. He immediately called me and we've, since then we had so many hours and hours of conversations over Zoom, over phone, in person, just about the story, about the character, about the themes and how he was connecting them to his own personal experiences. I mean, he was so passionate about this idea. And I think that's part of what makes his performance so incredible in this film. And then to, get to work with him, which was surreal when it was happening, but then also pairing him up with another phenomenal actress, Tatum, who played Cherry, who's still got such an incredible career ahead of her. And someone that we felt that we had kind of discovered a little bit, and we'll probably ride her coattails as she experiences, all the success that she will. But to pair them up, and they had immediate chemistry, and their scene together is, I think, just the perfect way to climactically close out the film. So yeah, he was incredible. And I also will say too, because this feels like kind of the type of place to sort of say stuff like this. I love how I keep seeing him pop up in everything I watch. Like too, you know, you watch a Scream sequel and you're like, oh, Lance is in this. Or I remember watching Tarzan, like on you know, the Disney movie. Thinking, why is that gorilla sound familiar? Oh my God, it's Lance. You know, like everything. He's in everything.
Yeah.
So that's been just so great to have had that relationship with him, and still to this day, like we chat and talk, and he is just such an incredible human being. So we're insanely.
There's three actors that I feel like make it through the rounds of so many films: Lance, Bill Moseley, and Tony Todd. And I will watch anything that any three of those guys are in, because they just seem like such great dudes. And, you know, they really care about any project. It doesn't have to be a huge, big budget, like opening day movie in order for them to put their heart into it. And that's everything I've heard about them is just makes me an even bigger fan. So that's awesome to hear.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Now let's get into some music. The film features some great songs such as Way Far Out. What are some of your favorite songs and albums of all time?
Oh man. Oh, I was. All right, here we go. Listen, by the way, I'm sorry if I'm breaking up a little bit. Is my connection kind of wavering a little bit? Can you guys hear me okay?
Slightly. Yeah, I can hear you now. Yep.
Okay. I think that, and this is like, it's impossible to pick like a favorite song or album. I think Gorillaz might be my favorite artist, just because they are constantly evolving and
wow, good
yeah, like shifting and changing, and they've introduced me to so many other amazing artists like De La Soul and like Benjamin Clementine is like now one of my favorite artists, and I discovered him through Gorillaz. So I love that kind of stuff. Shoot, man. I just recently was listening to Random Access Memories by Daft Punk, which I think is like one of the greatest albums ever. I don't know, maybe I just have a thing for music artists that like have like a persona. Yeah.
Yeah, they don't show their face. Yeah.
Yeah, there's something there. But I don't know. Shoot. Wow. I'm a big fan of like the whole kind of spectrum of genres and music and stuff. I'll shout out some people that maybe people haven't heard of. Nicole Atkins. I've been listening to her music nonstop. I wouldn't consider myself a fan of country, but her voice and her like minor chord progression is just incredible. Who else? James Blake is great.
Nice.
And I don't know. Whenever I'm like in a bad mood, I listen to Jurassic 5, and that always picks me up. It's Jurassic 5.
Jurassic 5.
Yeah, that's a throwback. But
that is awesome. Yes.
Quality Control is, I think, the album that's my favorite.
Wow.
Yeah, so I was raised by kind of. I had a much older sister who's like 16 years older than me. So she kind of raised on Radiohead and Smashing Pumpkins and that kind of stuff. So I hope that's satisfying.
That's awesome. That's very that's kind of like us. I mean, our music tastes are all over the place. Yeah, that's awesome. I know that this is your feature film debut, but like obviously you're not new to film in general and like the field. Have you always wanted to make a feature film? Is this something you've always wanted to do?
Always, yeah. I mean, I knew when I was just a little kid, as far as I can remember, I always knew that I wanted to make movies. But when you're a kid, it seems impossible. You know, it's like wanting to be an astronaut. You have to be like, I don't know. I think it's more than just talent. I think you have to be like filthy rich to actually like just sort of end up in the industry like that. But so it never seemed like it was a possibility. When I was little, but I remember watching Wallace and Gromit and the Wrong Trousers, of all things, as like a 7-year-old kid, and realizing like, oh, well, I can do that. That's, you just get some plasticine, you get some Play-Doh, and then you take a photo, and then you move it a little bit, take a photo. And so I got into stop motion at a young age, and that kind of was where I sort of learned the basics of film. And then in high school, when I actually made friends, that's when I started filming short films and started doing some of that stuff, a web series, and just kind of learned by doing. out of the past several years, I've just been making short films with sort of my close knit team of friends, and we always knew that we wanted to eventually do a feature film. Didn't know how it was going to be possible to fund this kind of project, but we didn't want to ask for permission or wait until someone picked up a script. So we ended up just sort of saying, all right, well, if we can't afford to shoot this entire film, but maybe we can just get together and shoot like this small portion of it. And by small portion, I mean like the first entire act of the Artifice Girl. So we shot that all on our own, and used that as our proof of concept to raise the money for the rest of the film. I had made a connection through some through the film festivals, through doing a short film that went to Fantastic Fest, sent that to the festival curator there, Peter Kaplowski, and he got us in touch with Paper Street Pictures, who we partnered with to make the rest of the film. So if anybody asks, like, how do you make films? How do you get into making films? I don't know. I feel like we cheated a little bit, or you just, I think, honestly, like the best advice I could give would be, don't wait for permission, shoot as much of it as you can, use that to prove that you have a vision and a story that's worth telling. And also look at your challenges and obstacles as opportunities. That's why the Artifice Girl exists in one location with 3 characters, because that was our challenge, that was our obstacle, and we try to find a way to turn that into a creative opportunity to tell the story in a unique way.
Very cool.
Now, can you give us a quick synopsis about the film so the listeners
Yes.
know?
Yeah, let's see. So I should be able to do this. The film is about the film is about a small team of special agents who discover a revolutionary computer program designed to entrap online predators. And after teaming up with the program's troubled original developer, they begin to find that the program is evolving far beyond their previous expectations. And it arises challenges and ethical and technical challenges.
Nice job.
Yeah, you did a great job.
I was trying to like remember. It's like,
what that was really good.
Like
Yes. Now,
thank you.
Yeah. So now the film premiered at this year's Fantasia Festival, where it won the Golden Audience Award for Best International Feature. How does it feel to have your project win such an award?
It still hasn't quite dawned on me yet. No, it was to have like a prestigious award like that at your world premiere, the first time anybody's seen the film. That was definitely very, very validating, because we'd been working on this film for 3 years. We had written the script back in 2020, and for so long you just don't know if it's going to resonate with anybody, because you're so close to it and you're the only person that knows it, and you and your team, and so I hadn't been able to talk to anybody about it really, and so getting that feedback was it was incredible. It was just great to know that it's resonating with people and that people are connecting with it. And finally getting the chance to talk about it has been wonderful too, because I've been dying to for years, and now everybody's ready to talk. And so I'm like, all right. So that's been a great part of it as well.
Now, what are some other creative influences that inspire you to create this film?
Well, definitely, obviously I was heavily inspired by other, lo-fi kind of low budget science fiction, like Pi and Primer. Obviously Primer is a huge influence there. Definitely like kind of some of the writing of Aaron Sorkin, definitely the some Fincher projects, as far as like the mood and tone. But I will also say, like, just sort of on a more like philosophical and thematic level, heavily inspired off of Fritz Lang's Metropolis. Definitely. What's another one that I was just thinking about? Like, oh, that was a big inspiration that I hadn't even thought about. Strangely, like, kind of the sort of in just kind of I don't know how to explain it, but definitely like Max Headroom, like things like that were definitely big influences in sort of making this. But we wanted it to still feel somewhat like it was its own kind of, and I'm sure the influences are obvious, but that it still had sort of a very sort of unique and individual identity.
Yeah. So you wear numerous hats in this film. Writer, director, actor. I imagine that's a lot to balance. And sometimes it's like you're basically like in control of almost everything. It feels like to some extent, and then you're contributing as well. So, I mean, what was that challenge like for you? Would you prefer it if you could do it all again? Would you do all those roles again?
No, I think the acting was kind of out of necessity. We had sort of worked on this thing in COVID times, and so we were just trying to figure out how do we get as few people on set as possible. And because I kind of fit the look of Gareth, it was just kind of like, all right, can we do this? I would not have been comfortable playing the role had it not been for, I think, three important factors. One, that I had an immense amount of trust with my director of photography, Britt McTammany, who we've been making films together for 10 plus years. So having him behind the camera, like that was a huge amount of trust. And I knew that there was like a lot that I could trust him to do without my input. I think also immense trust in the cast and the fellow cast members. David Girard, Sinda Nichols, and Tatum Matthews all were exceptionally helpful in giving me sort of the comfort of, you know, if I needed guidance with my performance, that they were there to help and support and give feedback. And then three, an intense amount of pre-production planning. We made sure that everything that we did was, you know, the shot list, storyboards, diagrams, all of that, coverage sheets, that was all very precise to ensure that we were being the most efficient we could with our coverage. It was very precise, very. So I think that helped a lot. Kind of put me at ease to act in the future. No, I would much rather be behind the camera. If I were to do this all over again, I'm curious who I'd cast. I'm not entirely sure. Who's that? Who's the guy from 1917? I love him. George McKay, is that his name?
Oh yeah.
I love him. I think he would have been a phenomenal Gareth. But again, we wouldn't have been able to afford him. And but no. But I'm very happy with the way it turned out.
Yeah.
And again, because of those three things, I was able to separate myself from the person on the screen in the editing room and sort of had that disassociation, which kind of helped make the editing a little objective.
Okay. I mean, I'm just gonna say, like, you did an awesome job. Like with your acting, I was kind of at first a little blown away. I was like, oh, I thought we were interviewing just the writer director. I didn't realize we were also like interviewing one of the stars of the film. And I would never have thought otherwise. Like had I not known that you were a writer director, I would have just been like, oh, this is a good actor. So you did a really good job.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Lance didn't know that I was the actor for a long time either, because we had shown him acts 1 and 2 prior to shooting act 3, and he was like, that guy is really, really good. I was like, thanks, Lance. And he's like,
that's awesome.
Yeah, he's a good guy. I'm like, thank you. He didn't realize it until after we had finished shooting. It was really funny.
That's awesome.
So now this film does a great job showing how artificial intelligence evolves over the years. We are currently dealing with like apps that can create like lifelike pictures of celebrities in crazy situations and music being remade and well-known voices performers that we know. What is your take on AI for creatives in the future?
Yeah, that's it's a tricky thing. And I honestly, I wish I had an easy answer for this. I don't know how I feel about it. I started writing this project again back in the spring of 2020. I had no idea what was going to happen 3 years later. And I mean, no one's been talking about AI as much as they have in the past 2 months. It's been absolutely insane seeing everything. And I'm not going to pretend and say that, oh, we knew, like we have the answer as what AI is going to look like in the future. No, we're just speculating on one particular instance of a very specific AI program, and how she sort of reciprocates or passes on inherits the childhood trauma of the developers. So I don't know. I mean, I think there are two camps right now with AI. You've got people that are immensely excited, which I think is totally understandable. And then you've got people that are absolutely terrified, which I think is also very valid, because AI is going to have a huge effect on things like privacy and security. And I think regardless of how our depiction of AI deviates from what's going to happen here in the next, I mean, I'm going to say 10 years, but it's probably going to be like 2 months. Regardless of that, I think still AI, like the film kind of depicts, is a reflection on the people who create it. So if it's created intentions of nefarious intentions, activity, or opportunism, or dare I say capitalistic intentions, like it's going to reciprocate. That's what it's going to do. If it's built for ethical reasons, for altruism, for that kind of thing, then we might be in better shape. But at the same time, again, I think we are still inherently flawed as human beings, and those flaws are going to continue to pass on to the AI. It's going to reflect the best and worst parts of us. And so, I don't necessarily feel hopeless, but I'm also not like overly joyed by everything. I think that if anything, we just need to, as individuals and especially as organizations, approach AI with thoughtfulness, compassion, and integrity. And I hope we do. I'll leave that to the optimists and the pessimists.
I was wanting to ask you what like some of your personal specific fears around AI are, and I think that I kind of hearing it's like the idea that it could get used for evil or for wrong and selfish reasons. And I personally kind of under the philosophy that I don't truly think altruism exists. I think even like our best deeds are done for our own like benefit because it feels good doing them. Everything's kind of, it ends with that. So it is a totally scary concept.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, you could argue too, I think, and this to your point, Gareth in the film, it might have seemed like he had the best intent, and that he was doing something really by creating Cherry and creating this program and helping kids. But at the end of the day, it was just, he was unable to process his trauma. And kind of like with Batman, he dealt with his trauma in a way that it might be productive, but it's definitely not healthy. And in doing so, he just inadvertently passed on those traumas to his successor, this AI, just the same way that a parent would pass on their trauma to a child, if not dealt with, if not being open about and communicate to others about it.
It's a great point.
That's the fear,
Yep. So the film also explores some other dark material, as you mentioned, with like the idea of child predators on the internet. What made you want to use such a heavy theme in your plot line?
Honestly, I think it was just something that I feel like everybody could instantly get on board with. Like there was no ethical discussion of should we be doing this? Like, no, we should.
Is it really that wrong? No one's saying that.
And I get nervous too, because when people like read the synopsis and then they see that it's like people say, oh, it's got a lot of great ethical discussions. I like the ethical discussions aren't about that, and as I'm sure everybody's sort of aware of, and if you've seen the film, like it's not really about that part of it. I never wanted to show predators in the film. I never wanted to show that side of things. That's bad enough in your imagination. And it's a real world issue that is something that we need to be taking extremely seriously. I think more seriously than we are. And so for me, that was just kind of an easy way for everybody in the same room to agree. Yes, what Cherry's doing is very important and needs to continue being done. The question is just then, what's the right way to go about doing it? And I think just also that idea just makes it all the more kind of eerie and uncanny when you see this child's face and knowing like what her job is and knowing that it's a program, but just knowing that that's the job. It's just taps into that kind of uncanny thing that you can't quite, it's just, I don't know. I just don't feel good about that in the same way that we kind of mentioned in the film, like bringing a dead actor back to life and having their likeness puppeteered by animators to do and say whatever the filmmakers want. It just feels wrong because it's a dead person. Like it's not necessarily logical. It just doesn't feel right. And why is that? Why is that? And not necessarily like, is that right or wrong, but why is that important? You know, that's the question that we want to ask.
I think that's such a great theme to explore. And we probably should be having more and more conversations like this as we evolve with technology, because this is going to be something that we're going to be faced with over and over. But like, just because we can, and maybe be like, even if our intentions are good, when is too far? Like, when have we crossed that line of like, this is getting to be just too much. We shouldn't go that far. And this was a good way of kind of exploring that, I think. So I get why you would use such a plot line. I don't think there's too many movies where like child predators is actually like the lighthearted theme of the movie, like compared to this stuff. Like this is heavy, and this is also like a very ethical debate. Like, how far do you start to play around with technology and human likeness before it becomes like just another form of abuse?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think you said it plain and clear there. The science fiction aspects and even the criminal sort of side of it, the predator side of it is a conduit to exploring the ideas that we wanted to explore. You know, I don't expect, I hope that this film doesn't feel like it's trying to present a message or like try to convince you of an ideal. What I really hope people take away from this film is just, I just hope that it incites conversation. I hope that people come out of this film talking to each other and saying, well, how do you feel about that? What do I feel about that? And why? And again, like I said, the big thing is, why is that important? Why is it important to understand why we feel this way? So yeah, I think you said it.
Yeah, and to touch on that too, because I was able to check out an interview where David stated he had read the screenplay, and at first he did not agree with Amos's premise on defending the AI, but after doing some research, it changes his outlook. How was that to get that feedback from your co-star?
Oh, I love it. I mean, David is like, he's going to be in every film I ever make. So like it was really fun having those kinds of discussions. And when we had extensive Zoom rehearsals leading up to production, where we would just get on Zoom call and like run through the script. And we also did a lot of like just sort of like casual table work, talking about the themes, talking about the ideas, and why we really enjoyed, you know, doing the story. And yeah, David, like, who is such an intelligent guy and a phenomenal actor, obviously. It was really funny for him to sort of start the whole process of this thinking like, nah, it doesn't matter, you know, she's zeros and ones, so it like, and that's it. That's and like, there's nothing more to it, no matter how like realistic that you get, it's still zeros and ones, and that's not biology, that's not humanity. And it was really cool like seeing him start to kind of like, okay, well, and I don't know, you know, like it's I don't want to speak for him, but I love continuing to have conversations with him about it, even now whenever we meet up and get coffee and stuff. Like it's really cool like hearing his perspective and how it's always going to be fluid. Like I think our perspectives should never always be like, you know, stale and stagnant. Things are going to change over time. You know, technology is going to progress, humanity's outlook and our ideals are going to change, and therefore like it's always cool to see people's perspectives change.
For sure.
Now, you were able to study dialogue and body language found in police interrogation tapes. What was that experience like to help you make the film feel authentic in the first act?
Hugely important, definitely.
Mm.
That's a great question. Thank you. I really enjoy watching those interrogation videos from Real Interrogation. I'm sure everybody's like kind of watching them now. There's sort of a fad now, but I always just thought it was really fascinating how there's like a rhythm to the way that they ask their questions and cross-examine the suspect. There's like a certain kind of psychological like structure to the information that they provide and the information that they withhold, and like sort of kind of in closing in on them. I just thought that was like really fascinating. Yeah, I think that played a huge role in, we knew our challenge going into this, which was that we have to keep an hour and a half length film of 3 people in a room interesting and engaging. And for me, it was like, okay, that's a way to do it. Have like our exposition come out in this kind of way, in this interrogation sequence. Yeah, I just remember writing those first 15 minutes, which I think are crucial to getting people like hooked and into watching. I just, because when I watched the videos, I remember thinking like, I loved watching them without knowing the context of the crime. And so then you're like a fly on the wall detective trying to figure out like, what is that person going to get accused of? What did they do? What's, like, what are all those things? So when writing the script, I had like this sort of, I guess I would almost call it like a cheat. Every page, I made sure that one of 2 things happened. A page would pass and it would be like a secret would get told. And then the next page, a mystery would get set up. And then the next page, secret, next page, mystery. And you just kind of like, I mean, it really wasn't that, it really wasn't that complicated. I feel like if you go through the film, you can like kind of probably hit the time codes. Yeah. But that just helped the information feel like it was organically coming out in this scene, that this wasn't just being exposited for the audience's sake. The audience was actively learning, and every time they learned something, there would also be another mystery that it's like, well, now I want to know that, so I got to keep engaged. And that I think was a hugely important to the first act. Like you said, those videos were very helpful.
Cool. So early on during the interrogation scene, you use the phrase Uncanny Valley, and I love this because Uncanny Valley is a really interesting concept to me. So the idea behind Uncanny Valley is the closer something like AI or robot gets to human appearance, the more uncomfortable we begin to feel. Mm-hmm. And with that being said, like, you recognize Uncanny Valley in the statement, but then later you use a human actor. So you chose not to go the Uncanny Valley route with our AI, which I think is intentional, obviously. But did they think about that at all? Like,
absolutely, yeah, no. So that and originally in my mind, because I also am a huge fan of the topic of the Uncanny Valley and all of the cool things that you could do that with that in film. And maybe in a different project, I'd like to explore that more. I think honestly, I probably don't have to, because when we were in post-production, I think it was after shooting Act 3, I remember the trailer and drop. Oh no. Like, oh God, like someone's doing the movie with the robot girl and she does a dance. Oh no.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
But I saw the movie and was like, oh, okay, this is a completely different kind of story with, sure. And I'm a big fan of that film, and I love the director. But I think they effectively kind of pull off that Uncanny Valley idea with our film. And I remember there was a lot of discussion about this prior to shooting Act 1. We had talked about like, okay, well, maybe we'll do a deep fake of Tatum's face on top of her own face to just give it that little edge, to give it that little bit of uncanniness. And, we definitely couldn't afford a whole CGI face, but we had talked about like, could we do that? But I think that in production, where David's character, Amos, has this moment where he looks at her, and the other 2 characters are like, oh yeah, I can tell the subtleties. Like, I can tell that she's not real now that I see her in like HD. And he looks at her and he's like, I can't, like, what? and there are some, there are people like when you show some of the like CGI characters and like Avatar, and there are people that that would look at Tron Legacy and like not see it, not be able to tell. But the fact that he couldn't, we wanted to put the audience in his perspective, which I think better sets up Act 2 when you kind of are on his side. You just can't tell the difference like he can. And I love that we have characters that do think that they can tell. And I do think that Tatum's performance is so brilliant enough that there are still some like slight affectations just in her performance and in her voice. But yeah, I love that she is actually a real human being playing this role, so that the audience, like Amos, cannot tell the difference and would be lying to themselves if they think that they could. Which, funny enough, at our world premiere Q&A, I asked the audience, I was like, could anybody tell that she was CGI in Act 1? And I saw a couple hands go up. They were like, yeah, I could tell. And it's like, joke's on you. So that's great. I think people, when they're looking for that, that's when it's the most obvious, when okay, that's a CGI character, or I know that, again, let's say you're watching a movie and you know that actor's deceased and you're looking for it, you see, like, you think you see it. So that was I think a really fun kind of subversion on that. And
do you have a favorite Uncanny Valley like example that's like so bad that it makes you laugh?
Look, the Scorpion King it's definitely a top pick. I would say, like, honestly, some of the more recent ones are worse because like, there's a charm to things like Tron Legacy because, like, oh, they're just starting out, like, but I don't know, there's like Grand Moff Tarkin kind of didn't sit well with me. But then, like, you look back at Jurassic Park, the original Jurassic Park, and there's that shot of the girl as like the velociraptor's trying to like nip at her legs as she's like crawling through the hole in the ceiling, and she looks up at the camera. That's a CGI face, or that's like a composite of a face on, like, and one knew, like, because you're like, you just didn't know to look for that at that time. But nowadays, you kind of go in with that expectation. I don't know. I have a soft spot for that kind of stuff. Like, I still love, as weird as it is, I think Beowulf is fascinating.
Yes. It's another great example.
Polar Express and all that stuff. Like, it's interesting, but I don't know. And I apologize if you can hear the cat in the other room.
It's okay.
Oh, no, it's cool.
But I hope that's a good answer to the question.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Definitely interested.
So the film has been getting great reviews and the fans can't wait to see what's coming next in your career. Can you share any upcoming projects to look out for?
I cannot at the moment, but I don't.
Are you retiring?
Yeah, I'm retiring. I'm calling it quits, one and done. I'll come back when I'm in my 60s for Artifice Girl 2. And I am really excited about the next few years and about the next few projects. What I will say is that if you liked The Artifice Girl, you will love what we do next. What I really want to focus on is taking the best elements of Artifice Girl that people have resonated with so much. Not the AI. I don't know if I'll ever do another AI story, but I want to take the best elements from that film and give those things a little bit more to go off, if that makes sense. I want to build on it. Obviously, I don't think I'm going to do another one location next.
Okay.
So, but
you're much better at giving plot summaries than you are at telling us what you're doing next. I'm like trying to decode what you're telling us right now, and it's not. I can't do it.
Listen, I think I just hope people get excited about it, because
Cool.
I'm super excited now. And again, that's sort of the irony, right? Like, at 3 years working on the film, you can't talk about it to people. Then the film comes out and everyone wants to talk about it, and you just want to talk about what's next.
Yeah.
I don't think about Artifice anymore. I want to talk about the next one. But hey, you know, I'm still open. If someone recently mentioned how much they thought that it reminded them of Deep Space Nine and Next Generation, and I was like, hey, you know, Paramount Plus, give me a call. Like, but no, there's been some amazing opportunities that have opened up, and it's been challenging trying to figure out what is going to be the actual next one. But no, I'm really excited because it's going to be fun.
That's awesome. Well, that is a cliffhanger, I guess, to leave us with. But yeah, so thank you so much for spending this time with us and allowing us the pleasure of getting to view the film and talk about it and ask you questions about it. I know that like the rounds that you're going to have to make, you're going to get a lot of similar questions. But this was a really interesting conversation. So we appreciate you taking the time to be here with us.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you guys. Had some wonderful questions. You put me at ease, and feel free to let me know anytime you want to talk more, because
awesome.
I love talking about it.
Okay. We won't talk about your next project until 3 years from now, but we will talk this one as much as we can. So thank you.
Well, thank you guys so much. This was wonderful.
Franklin, do us a favor. Tell our listeners where they can find you, and just remind them of when Artifice Girl is coming out and where they can find it.
Sure. You can find me at my home address, which is I'm sorry. I just moved, so I'm really excited. I'm on the socials. I'm really bad at using them, but I'm on Twitter and Instagram at Franklin Ritch, and you can follow. You'll probably get more out of at the Artifice Girl, where you'll get updates and stuff. Our film's coming out April 27th, which I think is a week from, what day is it? I don't know when this is going to go live.
So yeah, pretty soon.
Yeah, April 27th, it'll be on VOD, and it'll be in theaters. Go see it at the Alamo Drafthouse. Go watch in the theater, because it's a great experience to watch with other people, especially for those fun twists and turns. And yeah, thank you guys so much. This has been wonderful.
Awesome. Thank you, Franklin. And everybody, check out the film. We'll obviously post the trailer for it, so you guys can kind of see what you have to look forward to, and catch it when you get a chance. So thank you, Franklin, for joining us, and we hope everybody has a great night.